So thank you all for attending the Seller Labs webinar on the current state of product reviews. My name is Jeff Cohen, and on today's webinar I have Paul Johnson, who's the CEO of Seller Labs, and he is going to be jumping in and kind of adding some additional commentary. Hello, Paul.
Hi everybody. Hi Jeff. Good to be here.
And we are going to try to do about 30 minutes of content and then really leaving it to the audience to ask a bunch of questions. So you have your GoToWebinar control panel and you can ask questions in the question box, and we will try to get to as many of those as possible. Again, trying to end our webinar on time at the top of the hour. So thank you guys all for attending, and if you have any questions, please put them in the box. So again, my name is Jeff Cohen, and I run business development. I'm part of the team. Paul Johnson joined us late, so I don't have a slide on him, but he's the CEO of Seller Labs, and the two of us work with a team of about 30 employees in Athens, Georgia, and we work with over 10,000 Amazon sellers. So far in 2016, our sellers have done around $3 billion on the Amazon platform, and we process hundreds of thousands of orders a day. In addition to that, on our Snagshot platform, we're processing around 40 to 50,000 products at a discount to shoppers who are looking for reviews. And so what we're trying to do is really bring you guys some understanding of what's happening within Amazon, as well as an understanding of where we think things are going. And some of these things, we're going to be very clear. Some of these things are our opinion, and some of these things are kind of stated facts. And so we'll try to be very clear to you guys as to which is which, and be more than happy to answer any questions at the end. All right, without any further ado, let's jump right into it and jump into the big headline-grabbing things that Amazon has been doing, which has really been focused around lawsuits. And Amazon really started in their lawsuits in 2015, really kind of coming after fake reviewers, fake reviews, and fraudulent processes. The first set of lawsuits that came out in 2015 were really focused around a process where sellers were giving their products away at a discount, but they were never actually sending the product to the consumer, and the consumer was leaving a 4 or a 5-star review. And so Amazon was able to identify exactly what this process was, how this process worked, and then through a lot of the technology that Amazon has, they're able to trace it back to what websites are generating the sales. And so in this suit, they actually went after the websites that were selling these services. And back then they were selling these services, I don't know if you remember, Paul, but I think it was like 25 or 30 bucks per review is essentially how they were selling these.
Yeah, it was just spend X amount of dollars, get X amount of reviews, kind of.
Right, but the big
They would
trick to
actually
that
allow
was you never shipped the product.
Yeah, well, there was a couple of different options. So there was like you could buy verified reviews, and then you just had to provide them extra money to purchase the product, and or you could get unverified reviews or whatever. And all these different websites had all kinds of different options, and it was totally black hat, scammy nonsense, but it worked and people took advantage of it, and Amazon obviously had to get rid of it, and so they aggressively went after everyone who was doing that type of stuff.
Right. So the lawsuits kind of continued, and in October of 2015, Amazon actually went after Fiverr. And Fiverr, if you don't know, is a job posting site where you can hire people. I guess the essential part of it is you can hire people for as low as $5, and you could ask them to do things for you. And so people started setting up what they call gigs on Fiverr, where you could pay $5 and ask somebody to write a review for you. When Amazon basically went after Fiverr themselves, asking for these job postings to be taken down, and if they were able to identify who the actual reviewer was, they would sue that reviewer and require them to actually turn over all the product reviews that they had written. And so this was kind of Amazon's second take at really coming after fake reviews from a lawsuit perspective. The next kind of series of lawsuits from Amazon started happening in 2016 when Amazon started cracking down on fake reviewers who were posting ads such as this, and it's kind of funny, but like this is an ad that were actually being posted, and they were blatantly violating Amazon's terms of service. And when Amazon approached these websites about the language that they were using, a lot of sites either closed up or tried to change their business practices pretty quickly. But Amazon wasn't having anything to do with it. And what Amazon does when they sue your company is they actually force you to give them a bunch of information for them to then release the lawsuit. And so Amazon uses the lawsuit as a way to kind of learn about the processes and learn which of the sellers are using these services as well as the reviewers who are writing the reviews. And so it's very common after these lawsuits occur for information to start kind of coming back and forth, and Amazon to start kind of cracking down on sellers who are also abusing. In 2006, in June of this year, we saw another lawsuit by Amazon. But in this case, they actually went after the sellers. And so they found sellers who were buying fake reviews, and they went after them for violating Amazon's terms of service. So what we've seen is that Amazon's going after the sellers, they're going after the reviewers, they're going after the job posting sites, they're going after the review sites that are blatantly violating Amazon's terms of service. So let's look at what exactly Amazon says about reviews, and then we're going to dig into Amazon's terms of service a bit. Okay, so Amazon says that you may request reviews from a buyer. So if a buyer purchases your product, you can ask them to leave a review, but you cannot attempt to manipulate that in any way, shape, or form. You cannot ask anyone that you either have a family relationship or a financial interest in. So we're going to get into this a little bit later, but you can't ask your aunts and uncles and cousins to write reviews for your products. You cannot provide any compensation other than the discount of the products. The review has to be honest, and it cannot only be asking for a positive review. And where a lot of sellers have gotten in trouble is they'll say, if you have anything less than 5-star things to say about my product, please email me directly. Well, that's not what Amazon wants to see. They want to see the sellers having the buyers having the opportunity to leave the comments for the products. Good reviews get good products get good reviews. Bad reviews get bad products get bad reviews. I'm tongue-tied this morning, sorry. And ultimately, you cannot ask a buyer to remove or edit a negative review. So if you get a bad review, you have to deal with it as a seller and figure out whether there's something wrong with your product or whether there's something wrong with your instructions that you need to improve for the overall customer service. Now, I'm going to jump into the Amazon terms of service and try to explain how these have changed over the last 18 months. And as Amazon makes changes to their algorithm, which is how things appear on the site, and they make changes with their lawsuits, they're also making changes to their terms of service to ensure that these things are not happening. So the first big update that occurred was in August of 2015. And this one really sent the whole seller community into a tizzy of trying to figure out what Amazon was trying to say within their terms of service and how they needed to change their tactics. And this was probably the first major update to Amazon's terms of service with regards to reviews. And the big thing that came out of this update was that Amazon added text about the misuse of sales rank. And they added text that said you may not intentionally manipulate the search algorithm. And these two pieces of information became very important because that was a lot of the tactics that sellers were using up until that point. And so they were using review services, but they were using super URLs and they were using some other tactics that were intentionally trying to manipulate Amazon's search algorithm. And Amazon said, if you are doing this with that intent, you are violating our terms of service. And as we wrote in our update blog article after this, we were fairly confident that that meant Amazon was going to start to change their algorithm and start to look for this type of abuse. And so when Amazon says manipulation or excessive, what do they mean? Well, we really kind of boiled it down to three components, one of which is, I think, pretty easily defined, and two are, I don't know, Paul, right, more loosely defined, right? And so we'll get into super URLs in a minute here, but also the abuse of coupons. And we saw a lot of sellers at that point stop giving away products for free, and they started giving away products for $1 or $2. And then the excessive blasting of promotions, meaning that not necessarily that they were giving away a lot of products at one time, but they were just continually giving products away over a long, long period of time, which Amazon was deeming excessive. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is really interesting also with the language in the update of the terms of service was the use of the word promotions, and I can't even remember the actual term, but they used a term that they use the same way they use for gift codes. And so I think a lot of people got a little bit confused as well with the way the language was. And if you actually look in other parts, sellers were actually buying gift codes in bulk. So as like a corporation, if you want to give away like 1,000 Amazon gift cards to all of your employees or whatever, you can go to Amazon and you can buy gift cards, basically digital gift cards, and people can use those and actually purchase and check out. So it's actually different than a promo code. But the thing is that Amazon uses that language interchangeably. And so just like with this very recent update that we're going to talk about today, I think there was a little bit of a misinterpretation of the language. I wrote a follow-up blog post on our blog, but I just want to let it be known that there was a strategy out there for a while where people would actually buy gift cards, basically, and give people gift cards and allow people to check out using a gift card, not a promotion, not a discount, but an actual Amazon gift card, and say, here, buy this. And it goes through Amazon's system as a full-price sale. And they were able to kind of get in there and get those verified reviews and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of bring that to the attention as well, because that was definitely a manipulation of their service. So if you have any dealings with something like that, you want to discontinue that immediately.
Yeah, so there was a lot of debate around this time around what is a super URL, right? And whether they were legal or not. And I think generally the overall community has come to agree that super URLs are illegal. For those that are not aware of super URLs or want to learn more about them, if you go to sellerlabs.com/superurl, we have a very detailed post that explains what a super URL is and how it's attempting to manipulate the Amazon search algorithm. To boil it down into a 1-minute slide, you'll see on this URL a QID code. That is actually a unique ID code based on the timestamp of the actual search that's occurring. And then you see the SR equals 8-2. So that is telling Amazon that at this particular time, when the word hacking was searched in the algorithm, that it had a particular search rank for this product on that term. And so the manipulation that was occurring was that the seller, the machines that were generating these super URLs were actually faking the QID and the SR code so that Amazon believed that a real user was searching their site. Now, we'll be totally honest, Seller Labs was using super URLs prior to this update, but we also were one of the first to stop using them as soon as this update occurred. And pretty much since August of last year, we have been telling everybody to stop using super URLs. And if you are using a system that uses super URLs, we highly recommend you stay away from it. Now, a new tactic that a lot of sellers have started to use is that instead of using the super URL, they actually instruct the buyer how to find their product using the keywords. And if you are providing written instructions to your buyer on how to search for your product and find it, Amazon would consider that a manipulation. And if they find that chain of communication, you'd be in violation of their terms of service. So just be very careful what you're trying to do. There was an interesting update in July of this year to Amazon's terms of service. And the update that occurred was really stating that you, as a seller on Amazon, are responsible for the third-party softwares that you use. And Amazon had never come out and said this, although as a third-party software provider, it's something we've always known, which is there's no such thing as a certified Amazon partner. Right? Amazon doesn't certify any third-party systems as partners. And what we believe happened was that as people were getting in trouble, they were going back to Amazon and saying, but I thought I was using a system that met your terms of service. And so what Amazon came out and said was, listen, you are responsible for your business, and you are responsible for ensuring that anyone that you work with complies with Amazon's policies. And because of this, we strongly encourage you to question the companies that you work with and make sure that you're comfortable with any practices that they have. About 4 days ago, Amazon came out with another update, but what was different was that this update was actually on the buyer side, not the seller side. And Amazon changed the rules for who could write a review. And what's interesting is that this was a very minor change, and everybody again kind of got in an uproar because they weren't really sure exactly what it meant. But essentially what Amazon was trying to do, if you look at the before text, Amazon was allowing anyone who had an account on Amazon to essentially leave a review. But they are now requiring you to have an account that has used a valid credit card and spent $5. And that $5 cannot be on either Prime or in the use of a discount code. So Amazon is saying if the only reason you're opening up an account is to buy discounted products and leave reviews, or to buy a Prime subscription for that same reason, those accounts are invalid for leaving reviews. And this actually makes a lot of sense, because what Amazon is doing in this case is by using the credit card validation, they're limiting the number of accounts that an individual could open up to write additional reviews for their own products. There's a couple of other trends that we've seen happening within the community. Verified purchases. So Amazon used to verify any purchase that occurred on their site. It's a little tag that you get next to your review that says that an actual purchase occurred. During the August update of 2015, the verified purchase changed to only purchases that were monetized, meaning free products were not considered verified purchases. A lot of sellers started selling their product for $1. And so as Amazon has continued to kind of battle that battle, they've now changed it to where verified purchases require a larger dollar purchase. But from our statistics and analysis, there is no exact trend of exactly what constitutes a verified purchase. So we've seen verified purchases that are occurring at different price points for different products. It's not as black and white as all sellers want it to be. We've also seen a high increase in reviews being removed, meaning that Amazon is finding a bad reviewer and they're removing all of their reviews, or they find an abuser and then they remove those reviews and they follow back on the chain of the other reviews those reviewers have written. And we're also starting to see an increase in warnings going to sellers that violations of the terms of service have occurred. And as these increased warnings happen, they're typically happening for a couple of reasons. And this is pretty much what it boils down to. Um, if you are giving your products to friends and family and they're writing reviews, Amazon knows. How does Amazon know? We have no clue. I had a seller the other day who got a warning for review abuse. When they contacted Amazon, they said, "We see that your family has been writing reviews." They went in to look at the reviews, and their cousin had written a review. How Amazon knew this person was related, we have no clue, but that's happening. People are getting warnings for excessive promotions. They're getting warnings for selection bias, meaning that they're working with review sites that are only providing 4 and 5 star reviewers. They're getting warnings or suspensions because reviews are left before the product has been delivered. So Amazon knows when the product's shipped and when it's delivered. And if your reviewers are leaving a review before the product's even in their hand, Amazon knows that, and it's a violation. And they're sending out warnings because reviews have no disclaimers. Is there anything you want to add to that, Paul?
No, I don't think so. I'm just I'm saving up some stuff here in a little bit. I'm reading the questions too, so I'll
Okay,
wait
sounds
till
great.
you're ready.
So we've kind of gone through and we've given you a lot of Amazon, like what we're seeing in the industry. We've kind of given you what Amazon is actually stating in their either policy violation notices or in their terms of service. And so we can take a lot of that information and we can make our own interpretation. And one of the things that I think Seller Labs does that makes us different than most other companies is we take a very conservative approach to the interpretation of Amazon's terms of service. We try really hard not to actually read into Amazon's terms of service, but to actually understand them so that we know what Amazon is intending to do and how our system can work within those intentions. We really work on a daily basis and say, if an Amazon associate is using Snagshout, would they consider it to be a violation of their terms of service? So what are the red flag warnings that we believe you as a seller should pay attention to for other services that you're using? If anyone is actually guaranteeing a review rate, meaning they're either guaranteeing that you will get reviews or they're guaranteeing the percentage of products you give away will get reviews, that's a red flag. If there's a selection bias, meaning that they are kicking reviewers out because reviewers are not leaving good reviews, or you're able to select each reviewer based on previous reviews, that's a red flag. Super URLs, red flag. Banning reviewers from the site because they leave bad reviews, red flag. Instructions and instructing the buyer how to buy the product so that it tricks Amazon's algorithm, red flag. So these are all red flags. And when Amazon says that you're responsible for understanding the third-party providers that you work with, these are the things you should really be questioning and understanding if your provider is doing and that you're comfortable with the tactics they're using. So as the rules change, so do the tactics. And as a seller, it's very important that you can't just say they do it, so we do it. And that's a tactic that a lot of sellers are using that just won't make sense in the long run. We had a company that we work with who recently got suspended. And when I asked them why they were giving so many products away, they said, well, that's what our competitor does, so we want to do it too. Have your own reasoning for what you're doing, not just that you're following. We truly believe that change is going to continue. We'll see more lawsuits coming out of Amazon. We'll see more updates of terms of service coming out of Amazon, and we'll see more suspensions and warnings coming out of Amazon. It's our job as a third-party provider to make you aware of these as we see them, as well as your job as a shopper, as a seller on the platform to understand what Amazon is doing and trying to do. And ultimately, one of the big tactic changes we've seen is that when somebody gives you a bad review, there's a tendency to want to hound the shopper. And there was a recent article that was out about a Chinese company that was selling on Amazon, and they got a bad review. And when they got the bad review, they started hounding the buyer and saying, I'm going to lose my job if you don't change your review, and how could you leave a bad review for us? And they went on and on and on. That reviewer went on to Reddit and started complaining about what was happening to them. And that story and their review took off virally to where that seller ended up being kicked off of Amazon. So understand that the consumers have the right to leave reviews and to be honest with their reviews. And just because you don't like it doesn't mean that that review is wrong. And that's one of the things I see from a lot of sellers is they always want to blame the reviewer, but they never want to take a step back and see if there's something wrong with the product or the process that they can fix. So how do we actually get these reviews then, right? Because reviews are important to the algorithm, and we want to grow our number of reviews. So how do we actually get reviews? The first place to start is your organic reviews. Organic reviews are coming from buyers of your product, and you're asking them for their honest opinion. These typically paid full price for your product, and so you'll get a verified review for most all of these purchases. Using a system like Feedback Genius allows you to automate a process to message your customers and ask them for reviews. If you start that process by talking about customer service, so the first message you send to your customer is asking them if they got everything and if they're happy, you ultimately are putting something out there that if there's a negative connotation or problem with your product, it's going to be brought to you directly before it's posted on your site. So always start with customer service and make that the focus of your message. Then communicate to your customer that you would like them to leave feedback and reviews for your product. And by ultimately automating this process, you put something in place that allows you to constantly be asking all of your buyers for reviews. A well thought out email drip campaign to your buyers can generate in excess of 10% review rate for your products. And these are the most important reviews that you'll ever get. We all understand that when you launch a product, you need to use review systems to get started. And Amazon understands that as well. And so that is why Amazon created their coupon system. They want you to share your product with people to get your initial velocity and to get your initial sales. And as we stated, good products do get good reviews. So don't be afraid to use a system like Snagshout to put your products out there. When you're doing this, think about how Amazon promotes their own Vine program. And so this is something that is really important to look at. This is Amazon Vine numbers, and this is how Amazon looks at their initial launch of a product. And so you should look at your initial launch of a product, and then you should look at your ongoing promotions of that product. So Amazon states that once you get into the 21 review plus rate, there's not a statistical difference in the conversions that occur for that product. So the reviews at that point are really helping you kind of compete against your competition, not for conversion on the page. And so you need to kind of have a program and a process that's kind of evaluating both of these, both the promotion of a product at the beginning as well as the ongoing to grow forward. So after you get your first initial launch and you start looking at your organic promotions, we recommend that you look at things to run what we call in proportion to your organic sales. And so this is where you want to create a natural curve on Amazon that doesn't indicate that you're doing something that's intentionally manipulating its system. And so by looking at your organic sales and by looking at your organic reviews, you can then create a system where you're growing those numbers over time as opposed to trying to shoot to the top of those numbers from the very beginning. And so this number, I think a lot of people want this like hard number of what these things mean, but everything really is specific to your product. So if you have a product that's selling 1,000 units a day, the answer is different than a product that's selling 20,000 units a day or 20 units a day. And so ultimately, by verifying that your provider is following terms of service and running your your ongoing promotions in proportion to your organic sales, you shouldn't lead yourself to any trouble with your process. But ultimately, it's your job to also monitor your reviews. So if you're using a system and you're getting reviews in, you should also be looking at what those reviews say, and if they are not including the disclaimer or they're coming in before the product is delivered, then you really should jump at that point, and seek to fix those reviews before Amazon does. So I'm going to kind of pass it over to Paul. I know he wants to add a couple things too here, and then we're going to add and share some interesting statistics of kind of what makes Snagshout different than other review clubs.
So, first of all, thanks for all the information that you shared, Jeff. And also, I think just when we're talking about kind of like the strategy, I think that the strategy makes a lot of sense, right? Like when you first launch a product, your initial goal is just, this is kind of just a little bit of advice on how to launch a product on Amazon. Your initial goal is to get the item detail page looking great, obviously having the right content, and then you do need to generate enough reviews to where people will take your item seriously. And then you want to continue to generate reviews, both organically using, just from your natural shoppers, and then asking them to leave a review, an honest review. And then also, like Jeff said, kind of you can continue to supplement that activity with promotions and things like that. And I want to be, there really is no number that we've discovered, because we've seen people give thousands of units away and be completely fine, and we've seen people, all kinds of different things. But the thing that I think is really important is to look at the rate at which the way in which your organic reviews compare to your reviews that are given at a discount. And so if you have a product that gets a ton of, you give away 500 units or something like that, for a good price, for a good deal, and then all of those deals are coming in and all those reviews are coming in at 4 and 5 stars, but then your organic reviews are coming in at 1 and 2 stars, then when Amazon is going to see that, right? They're going to see, hey, look, this person's had a huge spike in reviews, and all of their discounted products are 4 and 5 stars, and all of their organic reviews are 1 and 2. And so that's clearly going to be a manipulation. And so the trick is to make sure, like, that if your product, you want the platform to be as honest as possible. And that's kind of what I want to talk about next. So if you want to flip to the next slide, Jeff. Yeah, next one too. Okay, so this actually goes into, I don't know how to say the name, but I think Vadim has asked a question. He says, do you feel that incentivized product reviews undermine the integrity of Amazon review systems? Customers are more likely to leave a positive review if they receive at a large discount. Do you think it will be discouraged in the future and sellers penalized? And I think that's a great question. And so there's a website here that Review Meta that published an article that I thought was really intriguing. So they actually analyzed 7 million Amazon reviews, and they came up with some statistics on the average review rate for a product that was received free or discounted versus an organic rating. And they followed up that article talking about selection bias and how all these platforms that allow you to select your reviewer, like, basically create this feedback loop of creating products with more positive reviews than negative, right? Because they literally kick people out essentially from getting reviews if you don't leave enough positive reviews. And so I kind of started digging into that, and we don't have that on Snagshout on purpose. Purposely, we don't allow the business to choose the reviewer, and we don't penalize reviewers for leaving negative reviews. We encourage them to leave their honest opinion of the product. And so, in my opinion, I think that's a bigger problem. The selection bias is a bigger problem than the kind of psychology of people leaving a product, or of people trying to be honest if they get a product for a discount or free. I think that people can still be honest if they're told that they're being honest, and if they're encouraged to be honest. And that's what we've really been trying to work on with Snagshout. And we still haven't figured everything out. We're not perfect. We're not as good as an organic review as far as the rating. I would like to see our numbers fall completely in line, and we're going to share those here in a second. So here they are. So the orange graph here is all discounted products on Amazon of the 7 million products that were reviewed. And the blue bar is what happens organically. And so this is the review distribution from 1 star to 5 star. And you can see that like predominantly like, and this is pretty statistically significant, all the discounted products, if you just look at anything that's done for, that has that disclaimer in there of I receive this product for free or discount, that's a big jump there. And Snapshot falls much more in line with the organic traffic. And then we have a little bit more people that leave 4 star reviews actually than organic or discounted. And then we're much more in line with organic on the 3 star. And then we're also more honest on 2 and 1 stars. But we would like to actually see more people leaving 1 and 2 star reviews on Snapchat, to be quite honest. Not because we want our businesses to get bad reviews, but we want our reviewers to be very honest and genuine. And we've been investing heavily in developing a system that does that and encourages people to leave honest reviews. And we've changed our messaging a lot to say like, hey, look, we want you to be honest. We want you to leave a disclaimer. We do a lot of stuff where we actually track to make sure that reviewers aren't leaving reviews before they receive the product, and that they're actually putting in their disclaimer, and that they're writing actual content and everything. And we have a lot of actual manpower where we pay a lot of people money to kind of go over this and make sure that reviewers are doing the right thing and that things are happening honestly. And so that's really important to us, and we think it's really important for the Amazon seller community to not try to cheat the system. And we need to be able to launch products on Amazon and to be able to leverage things like this. It's really important for businesses to be able to kind of do that. It gives everyone a chance to kind of come up and create new things. And it's actually better for the marketplace because it allows new businesses and new competition to enter in. And so I think it actually is going to make the Amazon marketplace better and more honest if we can convince sellers to use platforms that are honest and aren't trying to cheat the system, and we can tell shoppers that they can be honest and share their honest opinion. And that's really what we're striving for. And we think that as we kind of make this message, and I have a blog post that I'm going to publish later this week about all of this, is we can kind of demonstrate to Amazon more and more that, hey, like this is true, and this is what Amazon's done with the Vine program as well. And we can kind of show them, hey, this works, that they're going to get more and more behind these types of efforts. And it's a good thing for Amazon because we're ultimately creating more content, more genuine content about the products that you sell. And I think that's a great thing. So just be very careful in what you choose and how you react when you get a negative review. And they should be welcomed, in my opinion. I think negative reviews should be welcomed in your business, and you should want to see a more organic distribution of reviews for your products. And you should take all of that negative comments that you get, and you should use that to feed into your product development and go back and make yourself better. Don't look at, how am I going to rank better, or this took me down 1 spot in my search rank or whatever. Like, how can I make my product better, and how can I really do it? And I hear a lot of people, they get a lot of negative reviews, and they always come and they say, Paul, my competition is trying to sabotage me. And honestly, I think that's not always the case. I think sometimes they just need to make their product better. So anyway, we got a couple questions. And,
yeah, so Paul, I want to add one thing to that. I'll give you guys a couple of examples. We had a seller who was selling a powdered product, and that powder settled in the packaging, and he was getting negative reviews because people would open up the package and say, there's nothing in here, like it's half the bag is air. And he was able to use Feedback Genius to message the consumer when the package arrived, letting them know that the product settled during shipping, and that was an expected experience that they were having. And by doing that, he was able to reduce or eliminate the negative reviews that he was getting. So listen to your customers, like Paul said. Listen to them and improve your product. We had another customer who got a bad review, and he automatically started telling me, well, the customer should have contacted me directly. They shouldn't have posted the review. And I said, yeah, but do you have a problem with your product? And he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, it sounds very legitimate what they're saying happened to their product. Is that, do you actually have a quality product problem with your product? You need to actually check the rest of your inventory at Amazon and find out if the same issue is happening with all the products that you have. And so the seller was very focused on the fact that he didn't like the process the reviewer went through, as opposed to being focused on the fact that the reviewer was telling him something that could have been a more systemic problem for all of his products that he needed to look into. And if
Yeah,
it's not a systemic problem, all you have to do is issue a refund and send the consumer a new product, tell them you're sorry, and ask them if they'll write another review. And in all likelihood, they will. They'll update their review as to what happened.
and I would say too that like you don't want all of your reviews to be 4 and 5 star. Like it's not genuine. Like and so there are
And you
some
don't want
products
all
that
of your reviews to say this review was given to me for a promotional discount.
yeah, right. And you and if people see that there are, if you go to a product, if you think about yourself as an Amazon shopper and you go onto Amazon and you go and you read the reviews and all of the reviews are 4 and 5 star, you're like, okay, this person is probably doing something to manipulate the reviews. And so Amazon, obviously, it's in Amazon's best interest to do that. So I'll answer another question that we have. So it's how do you get a verified review if giving away products for a discount? And so we kind of talked about that, but it's a question here, so I'll answer it. And the answer is, there is no math problem that says you have to give it away for X% or whatever. So really, the best way to get a verified product review is to sell the product at full price and then message somebody with a tool like Feedback Genius and ask them to leave you a product review, an honest product review. And then the only other question that we have is there a video that I can view afterwards? And yes, we are recording a video of this
Yeah,
webinar.
so I have a couple of other questions here. When one of the questions asked was, can I put a coupon in my email responder that's asking the consumer I'm asking the buyer to leave a review. Can I also give them a coupon to purchase my product again? The answer to that is pretty simply no. Amazon, within their terms of service of the buyer messaging system, states that the buyer messaging system is for enhancing the customer experience, not marketing and promotion. So you really start to kind of go into the lines of marketing and promotion when you start passing out coupons.
Yep.
I have two other questions that are kind of similar. One is, how many days after a product is delivered is it recommended for a product to ask for the product review? And my answer to that is going to be, it depends. So here's the way I describe it. If you have a toy, toys are typically most loved when they're first opened, right? I buy my kid a toy, he opens the toy up, he starts playing with it. By 2 days from now, my kid forgot he even got the toy. He's on to something so new. So if I'm doing a toy and I'm asking for a review, I want to ask for that pretty quickly after the product's been received. If I have a product like a vitamin or a supplement or a shampoo or a lotion where the product actually needs to be used, then I might want to ask for that review a couple of days after the consumer gets the product initially, but also provide some information about how to use the product and then to check back in with that consumer a couple days after that. And so really think about what your product is and how your product is used to determine how you need to answer that question yourself. So another question was asked, it said, did you say that after 16 reviews it does not help in ranking? Okay, let me be very clear. It has nothing, your total review count and ranking do work in with one another, okay? What I was saying is that the statistics that Amazon shared have to do with your conversion rate. And so a consumer in Amazon's mind, this is a consumer conversion on the product detail page. A consumer looking at a page that has one review will convert higher if that has 15 to 20 reviews. There is
Yep.
not a statistical difference in the conversion on that page if it has 15 reviews or 1,500 reviews. Okay? When you're talking about ranking and you're talking about ranking on the search results page, the number of reviews that you have and the recency of those reviews do play into the algorithm and have nothing to do with the statistics that were shown. Paul, did you want
Yeah.
to add something?
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to kind of talk about like Amazon search and search engine optimization in general. So yeah, what Jeff is saying is, once again, I'm going to reiterate it. So what he's saying is Amazon's research, and this is Amazon's research, says, after X amount of reviews, there's not a statistical difference in the conversion rate. So just like he said it, so once you get eyeballs to the page, if you have 20 reviews or 200 reviews, there's not going to be it's not that much measurable in your conversion rate. But getting eyeballs to your page is a whole different story. And so, how do you get eyeballs to your page on Amazon? We should probably do a whole nother webinar on this. The biggest one, obviously, is to rank in search. And so, ranking in search is the number of reviews, and like Jeff said, the recency. If you've gotten a bunch recently, that does play an effect. I'll also say though that you can leverage discounting platforms in a way and not just worry about the review side of it, but also for the sales velocity. And so getting one of the biggest factors in Amazon search is sales velocity. And so after you get your initial 25 reviews, you need to start driving those sales. And so you can use sites like Snackshot, turn on, you say, my competition is selling 10 units a day. I need to generate 10 units of sales per day too. So I'm going to do like 5 units per day on Snackshot, and then I'm going to also run sponsored product ads, and I'm going to do a Facebook ad, and I'm going to try to push all of this traffic into my listings so I can get the sales velocity that I need. And so at that point, you're going to get some reviews because you're going to have your Snackshot going, you're going to have your sponsored product ads going, and maybe some other PPC stuff going on, and that's going to get you a sales velocity. And then you're also going to get some reviews from that with like following up with Feedback Genius and stuff like that. And even on Snackshot, we even allow you to turn off the Amazon thing and say, hey, I don't really want any more Amazon reviews, I'm good. And I want to actually turn on like, Twitter or ask for like Reddit or something like that and start to get some of that social media buzz going. And so that's just another way to leverage that, because sales velocity is really important as well. So that's just another kind of my 2 cents on that I wanted to add.
Yeah. So we had a question that was asked, and it's I think a question that most sellers have. So let's address it. It says, when launching a new product, is giving away 50 products in exchange for a review too risky? Is there a better way to regulate giveaways to reduce risk? Okay, so let me state that your question should be more generic. When launching a new product, is giving away X number of products in exchange for reviews too risky? Everybody wants this number of 50's okay, but 100's not. We have shoppers, or we have merchants on Snackshot who give away hundreds of products a day or thousands of products a month and never get in any trouble. Okay?
Yeah, and
Ultimately,
I would say
ultimately you have to be smart. You have to be smart about your product and how your product is. And so if your product is averaging 20,000 sales a month, you can give away more products than somebody who doesn't. Also, I truly believe, and I know, Paul, you agree with me, the price at which you're giving away your product makes a big difference. And so if you are able to get value for your product, now if you're trying to give away a garlic press, you're going to have to give that garlic press away for $1 because you have a commodity product and a high volume and a high competitive nature. If you're trying to give away something that's more specific and has a higher perceived value, you won't have that problem.
Yeah, and I would say as well, like, and we have a lot of data on this, and we've done a lot of experimenting, working with Patrick with the $25,000 challenge and everything else, and all the products that I've worked with personally have launched with more than 50 units typically on Snackshot. It's not done in one day. It's done out over time, but launched with a pretty good amount of velocity. And the trick is that, in my opinion, and this is totally my opinion, but I believe that even if you gave away 1,000 units, and this is, and Jeff might disagree with me on this, but I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. Even if you gave away 1,000 units in a week, Amazon is going to see that, and they're going to say it will show up on their system. They're going to say, "Holy crap! This person just got 1,000 reviews. What is going on?" And then they're going to go look at those reviews, and they're going to say, "Okay, this person just got 1,000 reviews, but they all contained the disclaimer. They were all left before the product was, after the product was shipped. They got a good distribution of ones, twos, three, four, and 5 stars. There's nothing like crazy. This looks natural." But if you give away a large amount, you are more likely to set something off for a manual review in the system. Whereas if you stay with something more organic and natural, you're less likely to stay. But anytime you give away a large amount of products, you're going to raise some flags. And I don't know what they have programmed in their system for manual review, but when they see a big bump in reviews, they probably have somebody that, I know they have somebody that goes and looks through stuff, and they get and they start looking through it, and they start saying, okay, look, this one needs some review, and they look at it, and if they see that you're only getting 4 and 5 star reviews, or that you're using super URLs, or any other fishy stuff, or that you gave away a few products to your friends or family to get started, or something like that, that's when you're in trouble. And anytime I've ever heard of anybody getting any type of violation, it's always been not, oh, I just gave away a bunch of products. It's, I gave away a bunch of products, and I gave some to my mom, and I also wrote one against my competitor, and a bunch of other crap. So keep yourself clean and be reasonable, right? Like, you don't need 1,000 reviews to get started, but you might need 25 to get your listing going, and then just set yourself up a drip. And every day, we have a daily limit in Snackshot. You can say, okay, I want to have 5 reviews a day come through for the next year, and it's pretty simple. You can do that. It's easy.
Great. I think we're kind of wrapped up here, and we've answered most all of the questions, and we appreciate your time. We don't want to use up any more of it than we need. So thank you all for coming on today. If you have any other questions, you can always reach out to us at sellerlabs.com, and we would be happy to answer them. So thanks, everybody, and have a great day.